Hey guys, what's up? I'm Greg. I hope you guys are ready to unpack and get into some good conversations today.
And I'm Jess, and this is our podcast, Baggage Claim. Thank you for joining us.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to Baggage Claim. If this is your first time here, welcome. If you're a regular visitor of Baggage Claim, thank you for coming back and listening to us. Baggage Claim is a place where we're hoping to start some conversations and create some community around relationships, marriages, and blended families and all the fun stuff that there goes in. So,
yes,
take a deep breath.
Yeah, I appreciate that you do the welcome every time because it makes me nervous to think about doing the welcome myself.
Well, it's done, so you don't even have to worry about it now.
Yay!
So wherever you're at, grab your favorite drink, whatever it may be. Pull up to our table with us, metaphorically speaking, and just kind of relax and let's get into some fun conversations. Today's topic, I don't say tonight, but today's topic is one that we always like to say that, the first rule about Fight Club is...
You don't talk about Fight Club.
Right. So we're breaking that rule because we're talking about Fight Club tonight. So tonight we're literally talking about fighting. It's that one thing that all couples do. Like you do it, some more than others.
Yes.
Some do it really well and some really suck at it.
You're going to roll your eyes when I say this, but I Googled synonyms for...
Oh my gosh. Yes.
For fight. Here's a few other words that people might use. Argue, disagree, tiff, squabble, quarrel, spat, debate, fuss. That's one. That's
tiff. I have a tiff.
I have a tiff. No, but one.
I have a tiff.
We live in the Southeast United States, and the word that a lot of us will use is fuss. We're fussing.
Yeah. I call it intense fellowship.
Because you're fancy.
That's what I call it.
Let's be transparent. We don't fuss often.
No, we don't. We actually, this baggage claim started off of an argument. Not the actual baggage claim, but the first time we went to go away for the weekend to plan, to strategize kind of what we wanted this to be about. We wound up in a horrible argument.
We went to the mountains in North Georgia.
Fight. Yeah, it was bad. And we didn't...
We started fussing, and here I go, fussing. I said it.
No, we were fighting.
We started fussing here at home before we even left to go away for the weekend to try to plan this.
And you're mad. You're standing in the bathroom crying.
I was. I'm not going.
And I was frustrated. I was like, pack your freaking bags. We're getting in this car and going. And I was like, we're going to go talk about marriage and fun stuff. Get in the car.
I don't even want to go away with you.
Yeah, so I wasn't
But we don't even remember what even started that whole...
No, we had a conversation on the way. I was like, we have to go.
We didn't speak the whole way to where we were going till we got there.
Yeah, and then we were like, okay, why were we mad? What were you mad at?
I don't know, but we stayed mad for a good 24 hours after that.
No,
and that is not like us.
24 hours. It literally was not 24 hours. By the time we got there, you thought it was, but it wasn't.
Felt like it.
Okay. In your heart, it was 24 hours.
In my heart, I was mad for 24 whole hours.
Right. Well, there's we all fight in marriage. We can all agree with that. If you're telling me you don't do that at all and you don't have then I'm just saying you're... I don't know.
What you saying?
You're a liar or something's broken. That sounds kind of harsh, but if you're not and you're an ace at it, good for you.
Welcome. To go. High five.
Yeah, you can just hit pause, walk away, and go find a really cool station to listen to cool music on.
Right.
But if not, and you're like the rest of us in the world, then let's jump in.
Yeah, because you're a human being, and all human beings don't get along all the time.
So what would you, and I don't want to ask you because you have the notes in front of you, but I would just be curious for...
handy dandy notebook.
Before we get started, because I forget this every stinking time. On our podcast, there's a place where you can send us a text. So if you're on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever it is, right under the show, there's
literally a place that says send us a text.
We
just said that together, like it was on purpose.
Click that, send us a text, get involved, be a part of this.
Because we want to hear from you because as we're sitting here in our quote unquote podcast studio, and it's literally the mother-in-law suite off of our home.
I'm really still waiting on someone to send me one of those clicker things.
I know.
Had not been yet.
So you don't have to clap, and I laugh every time.
Right.
But like, it's you and I and producer Michael.
Producer Michael's back this week.
So we're talking to all of you, and so we would really like to hear from you.
Talk back.
Talk back.
Talk back to us. Let me hear what you got to say. Anyway, hit that text button. Send us a text. So I would love to know, like, what we think. I mean, I think we all kind of know what couples fight about.
Yeah, because according to quote unquote,
no, just life in general.
Research.
Quoting to us and research and having friends and having a life.
Yeah,
we know that most couples fight about money, which seems kind of normal.
Yeah.
Even if you have a lot of it, you sometimes might. If you have a lot of it, it's probably less likely to fight about it.
I don't know. You might fuss about how much you spend or what you spend it on.
That's true.
Yeah.
Second one is communication.
Yes.
Either the lack thereof is usually the case. Not
That's
that
usually...
we're fighting because you communicate too much.
Well, I mean,
now husbands may think their wives talk too much, but
right.
There's a difference in talking and communication. And then the third one is
the time you spend together.
Sex.
Okay,
for guys, that's a sex thing. But maybe for a girl, it's more like...
I want to go get coffee and go for a walk.
And let's hold hands, yes. And me, and I'm just like, you know what I want to do. Okay, sorry. We'll have that discussion later.
That's a different podcast.
Oh, is it? Anyway. So anyway, those are the three. I had to get back on track, man. My mind just went to
of course it
did. So
when you and I were planning this episode, we were talking about like how to fight fair, and there's pluses and minuses with every couple.
Can we be honest and say we got into maybe butting heads? Fighting was probably not the correct word.
We actually did butt heads while we were planning this one about fighting.
Yeah, how to fight and how are we fighting? Why are we fighting? And we wound up in a really intense fellowship session over this.
Yeah, we had two very different point of views, but leading up to our point of views, once I finally figured it out.
Thank you.
Thank you. You really had a really good analogy about a football team.
Okay. Well, we love, and in the Peck household, we absolutely love football.
That was one of the, how many stipulations when we started dating?
I had 3. Yeah. When we started dating, and I was like, okay, I really like this girl.
Yeah.
I think my questions were, do you like football?
Uh-huh. I already had season tickets.
I had season tickets to the Georgia game.
Bulldogs.
And I was like, okay, that
I grew up going and watching football.
I can quite a few points.
I can speak football.
2. Are you okay if I drink beer? And you were like, yeah, but I don't drink. And you said, as long as you don't drink excessively.
Yeah, in moderation, I'm cool.
Right. Yeah. And I was like, if it's not during football, fine. I'm just kidding. Anyway, and the third one was, do you want to have kids? Those were my 3. I
tricked you on the last one.
Yeah.
I still didn't get to have kids with you, but I tricked you on that one.
Yeah, you tried to. So you were like, yeah, I'm good with all those. And I was like, dude, this is move forward. This is
okay. So back
game
to
on.
Football.
So anyway, love football. Good Lord, that was totally. I'm sorry for chasing.
Did you forget about that?
Yes. So we're huge on football. Love football in our family. Saturdays are fun times around our house. From
it's game day, daylight till dark.
All day, yes. And so I said, you make the analogy, like as a couple, you're probably really good at one. If you're really, really good, you're maybe good at 2 of these.
Right, but talk about the football.
If you're not, hold on, I am. If you're not, you're probably bad. So the analogy is, would you slow down? I'm trying to communicate
to talk about
here.
the football analogy
I'm
first.
getting there.
Are we having a quarrel session right now?
When you have fuss.
Are we fussing?
So
we're talking about
as a quarterback, you either sometimes have a really good pocket passer,
yes,
who's good to sit in the pocket and can hit anything downfield, wide receivers, tight ends,
yes,
all that fun stuff, or you have a quarterback who is usually a runner, usually more of a runner than he is, and so. Producer Michael. Drawing pictures for me to look at.
Okay, for those of you that know us, personally, producer Michael is sitting across the room and he has a whiteboard that I brought from my classroom. And he has a marker and an eraser that I brought from our classroom. And sometimes he'll write notes of like, hey, you're 28 minutes in. Or sometimes he'll write just like other
he
things.
just said.
But then like right now,
You don't
pick up your mic.
don't have to call me out on this one thing that I write.
Okay, I'll let it slide this
Today's our
time.
first day with producer Michael having his own mic.
Yeah, so
I'm
we got
so
him on
excited.
mic.
So he just wrote a note for what?
Yeah, I got in trouble. Sorry. So anyway, back to the analogy with football. So you have a really good pocket passer, and if you do, you create a team, an offense around that helps support that pocket passer.
Girls, just stay with him. If you don't speak football,
Good tight
just
ends, wide receivers. You have a
stick
good
with us.
offensive line. You got great tackles. It's a big deal to work. If you have a runner, you build an offensive team around that quarterback built for those things. You run plays, you run all those things. So the same thing is true in a marriage.
Yeah.
If you're really good at one of those, then you build and you fill in for the areas and you try to figure out what are we good at, what are we not good at, and
How
let's
proud
create
were
a
you
team
in
around
the
that.
moment when I could be like, yes, I totally get your football analogy.
You did, and probably the large listening audience of us is female.
Yeah.
And
However,
if you don't love football, I'm sorry, but
I'm sorry too, but when my friend Lisa listens to this one, she's going to get it.
right. So figure out what you're good at.
Yeah.
And
And
then,
it's okay that, and I can say out loud the things I'm not good at, and then that helps us move forward. And that's the same for you. If you can identify the things that you're not good at, then we can move forward. But to be in denial about the things that you're not good at, I feel like is a lot of the area where fights and fusses can happen.
you're right, because a lot of times we don't say the things that we're thinking or the things that are, and so
Yeah.
it creates, like, we had an issue early on in our marriage. Money was, and it wasn't really money. It was I was doing all of the accounting
Yeah.
hoopla, the
Yeah.
unfun things, paying bills. Well, you and the Amazon driver were on first name basis.
We were besties.
Yes, they were dropping boxes like the thing that they put on your porch.
Okay.
Where you where
That
you literally
said when we
zip
first
it
got
up.
married. This was
and
2
this-
Christmases ago, what you're referring to.
The dude dropped off a box on our front porch that
It
he
was
could put
their-
packages in that was
Yeah.
waterproof.
It was
He could
their
zip it up.
own Amazon warehouse situation that they don't drop off at houses. But we had one on our front porch that he could just be like, I'm just going to refill this when I
Yeah,
come
that
back
says,
tomorrow.
Hey, welcome. I have a problem.
Well, you
But
know.
anyway, so we had to having those discussions. Communicating about that was
when
we had
we-
to do it in a very healthy way.
When we first got married, we viewed money very differently.
Yes, 100%.
Like when I was a single mom, I had my own free reign
Mm-hmm.
and I could do my own thing. And then you as a single dad, you viewed money differently as far as like a business point of view because that's where you came from.
Right.
And I did not. And so we viewed not the value of money, but the importance of money, future building.
Yeah, we can.
I don't
get
know
into
what
that
word.
later.
You know, that's a different thing. Anyway.
But it was good for us to at least have that conversation. And we always refer to money as a relationship. Like,
Yeah.
what's your relationship with money? Is it a
Yes.
good one, healthy one? Is it unhealthy? Is it like, what's the relationship like? So we talked through all those things because we knew what we were good at, what we were not good at.
Yes. Thank
And
you for
that.
circling back on that.
Yeah.
So likely, for the most part, fusses, fights, disagreements, whatever you want to label it, they come from unmet expectations. And most of the time, unmet expectations come from a lack of communication.
Right. 100%. And then when you fight, usually when you're fighting, it's like, I've been done wrong.
Yeah.
And I want to win. I want to prove myself that I'm right and you did me wrong. Like that's, and
I need to be vindicated. I need to feel like I was right in this.
right.
Yeah.
And so when we were even having this discussion, though, we started butting heads over the whole idea because I was looking at the root, when we were looking at fights, I was looking at the root cause of like, why are you even fighting in the first place? Like, because that's the way I
Yeah.
look at everything. I'm like, everything has a root to
Yeah.
it. So I'm pulling and pulling and pulling, looking for where did this start? Like,
Yeah.
where's the beginning of this? And you were looking at it
I'm a silver lining girl.
completely different.
And my viewpoint that we've talked about multiple times on the podcast, my viewpoint is I see the best in things. I see the good. I need to see the positivity part. And so in my worldview, my perspective of like, I'm going to do the things I can as I go throughout my day, my life, whatever, to make sure that we don't hit those speed bumps. We don't hit those roadblocks of places where we could disagree.
Yeah. And you also hate conflict.
I do. I
Yeah.
really
You
do.
don't
enjoy
like conflict at all.
Not at all.
And so you'll
No.
do anything to avoid it.
I will.
Um,
But and that's good and bad.
right. Yeah. I'm not saying if you're around someone who loves conflict,
Well, there's a problem there
yeah,
too.
they're probably either an MMA fighter or they have some issues. Like,
Yeah.
not slamming on MMA fighters.
Yeah,
I've
no.
got some friends who are, but it's at the same time, it's like no one loves conflict. No one loves fighting. You're usually
wouldn't-
trying to figure out.
And you, the way you're wired, you don't love conflict, but you love the places where you get to explore the why and the what led you to where you're at.
Right.
But then sometimes that's the gray area that makes me uncomfortable.
Yes. And so it's trying to balance all that and figure it out. Like,
Yeah.
And so when we were having this discussion, we were back and forth on,
And we were quiet for a long time.
yeah, this was probably one of the hardest
This
podcast prep times we've had.
I feel like it probably was the hardest ones because of our different viewpoints. And I don't remember what got us to that part where we were like, okay, I think I said that we're looking at this in two different ways.
Well, we were all over the place. Like, we
were.
just couldn't get our
Good
head around it.
gracious.
And so I called a great friend of mine that I love dearly, Mason. And
He's the one I talked about that did that really cool quote from when he was at West
we
Point.
hadn't done that yet, but
I really did, actually.
we did during the practice. But the run
Did we say it out loud here?
No, not yet.
Oh, cool. Okay, we'll go ahead and do that.
Jess is having anyway, Mason we kind of shared where we were going, where we were at, what was going on. And it was really cool. He kind of he didn't say anything we hadn't said, but it really helped us go, okay, yeah, we see it now.
Yes.
It
And I
helped put us
apologize
back.
for feeling like we had already said this. But what he did say is nonetheless important, whether we said it out loud yet or not. But he said one of the biggest quotes that he can remember from when he was at his time at West Point was from General Schwarzkopf. The more you sweat in peacetime, the less you bleed in wartime.
So the more you sweat during sex, the less you bleed during fights. Right?
No.
Isn't that that's
I mean,
that's not I'm sorry. I apologize. I mean, I didn't mean to. I get what you're saying. The whole idea is that if we're being proactive.
Yeah, if you're working during the peacetime and you're working on where you're going, your face, I can't get over your cheesy grin.
I'm sorry. I had a stupid grin on my face. I apologize.
It helps if you work all along instead of just idling and coasting, and you work on communicating. There's a lot of like quote unquote battles that you will avoid.
Right. Yeah, of course.
And there's a lot of things you can take into perspective when you are going through relationships together. I mean,
well, these are great things to have. These are great talking points
Yeah.
for if you're like, I don't know what we can talk about when we go to dinner. All we talk about is
the kids
or this or that and the other, or
schedules.
work. Or here's some things to talk about. What was it like in your house when you were growing up? Did you guys fight? Did your family fight in front of you? Did people raise their voice? Like what was that like? Like allow each other the opportunity, because those things 100% affect the way that you deal with conflict and the way you fight in your relationship now.
Yeah.
Those things happen. So,
And I can say with 100% transparency that even this many years later, we still are learning about one another. I mean, there's still stuff that comes up in conversation was like, oh my gosh, you never told me that before. Just about what we experienced as we were growing up. So it's important to take those things into account as a couple as you go. Like you've got different personality types. You've got different temperaments. You've got different love languages. You've got, like you said, the house you grew up in. And even if you go however many years you've been together, you go back to how did you envision marriage in the first place? Like, are you hanging on to that?
Right.
And it's not what you thought it might be.
Right.
So the root of some of your intense fellowships comes from that, and you might not realize it.
Right. And so it's just having this simple discussion and maybe asking those simple questions like,
Yeah.
what do you expect out of marriage? Like, what do you expect out of me?
Yeah.
Like, what do you expect out of our money? Like, what do you how do you see money? Like all those things, like time together. Like, what do you expect? Like, what do you want time wise?
Like for real, be honest.
Yeah. And those are really, really deep questions that you can get into. Like for me, fighting that's just a thing at our house. It wasn't my mom. It was my dad. He just couldn't control himself.
Yeah.
But there was lots of yelling and screaming. It was very violent. Sometimes it was violent at times.
But for me, it was not that. Like I don't have vivid memories of my parents like communicating about things in front of me. Like my dad had a wacky work schedule. He worked most of the time nights while I was growing up.
Yep.
But what I do remember, it was like talks about like money or things like that. And it was not a comfortable thing. And I spent a lot of times with my grandparents, and they did not communicate with just the two of them a whole lot in front of me and my cousins. And so I didn't really know what that really looked like.
Right.
But.
And so for me, like it just it just made me think about it the other day, and I don't think I've shared this with you. We went to the Braves game, part of Jess's birthday week.
Yay.
Celebration.
That's
well,
weird.
Afterwards, there was some guys we were at the yard house and we were hanging out, and there was some guys.
Such a disaster.
No, it was not. We were at. You see it that way. Here's the difference right here.
Okay.
We're at Yard House, and these guys over there, and they had too much to drink, and they were being loud, and they were just yelling, and they were trying to have fun, and then they just took it too far. Next thing you know, this one guy's shirt's completely unbuttoned. They're arm wrestling, knocking chairs over.
One fella fell out of his chair all the way to the ground.
He did. I thought it was hilarious. I thought it was funny.
But me and my
of course,
friend,
I wasn't sitting next to them either.
Yeah, but me and my friend Sam, she and I we were nervous. Miranda was nervous, our daughter-in-law. We were just like, oh my gosh.
And I was intrigued. Like,
you and Thomas were zoned in like, what's about to happen?
And so the guy, cop comes in, tells them to leave. The guy starts screaming. One guy starts screaming and yelling, and he goes outside and he's storming around, just still talking. And Miranda's like, that makes me so nervous. I've never seen that before. And I was like, what? I was like, you've never seen that before? And she's like, no. And I'm like, bro, that's nothing. Like, it just reminded me, like, I grew up where that was absolutely nothing. Like, you just ignored that. So all that to say, we all have different stories. We all come from different places. And those places have everything to do with how we act emotionally, mentally, physically in these situations. And fighting usually is a heightened sense of emotions, all those things that go into it. So if you're not aware of those, you can make some really bad decisions.
You can. There's a verse in James, it's chapter 1, verse 19, that says, be quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to anger.
Some of those are hard for me. A few of those things are hard for me to do.
I know which one is hard for you. Slow to speak.
Yeah.
Because you are a good listener, but
full of opinions.
Well, and it's you are full of opinions, but it's not out of disrespect. Your brain works on an ADD level of if I don't say what I have to say right away, I'm going to forget my point.
Right.
But when I'm on the receiving end of that, it feels like interruption if I don't just remember that's like how your brain actually functions.
Yeah. And it's something I'm working on.
But it's okay that that's how you work.
Well, I'm working on it, and I was going to say something the other day, and I caught myself. And at the end of it, you go, "What were you going to say?" And I was like, "I don't know. I
have
remember.
no idea.
I forgot."
And for me, I'm not quick to speak. I I am a good listener, and I'm good at being slow to anger. But then the face you're making, it takes me a minute to process. So I'm not going to be quick to speak. Like there's pieces and parts of that you can pick apart that are strengths and weaknesses for each other. Just like where there's holes, way back to your football analogy, there's holes in that.
Right.
And so that's what really helped us develop some guardware. Guard.
Maybe rails.
Rails.
Okay. That sounds, guardware could work. One of those be pads.
It could be.
Like shoulder pads.
Shoulder pads.
Yeah.
I would love to wear a pair of shoulder pads one time and just lower my shoulder and just, not you.
And to me, I was like, man, you looked at me when you said that.
No, well,
just lower my shoulder.
I'll lower my shoulder. Michael, maybe.
Why are you so angry at Michael? He didn't do anything.
What did I do?
Yeah. That's a great question. What did Michael do?
I've never played football. I played flag football a million times.
Hitting is the best part.
I was just about to say how much fun.
So fun. Until you get laid out and then you're like.
Then it changes things.
Yeah, then you're like, whoa, why are there things flashing? Like, there's lots of flashing
I just
things.
feel like if I could just wear all the pads one time.
It's fun.
Man,
it hurts sometimes, but it's fun.
I feel like that'd be so fun. Anyway.
But the whole idea, honestly, all of this with fighting we keep going back to communication and talk about it and where you come from, asking those questions.
Yeah.
Like on your day. It's the same analogy, and I'm just full of analogies tonight.
I'm
so bear
proud
with
of
me.
You. You're so poetic, honey.
As the sarcasm drips from the microphone. It's the communication aspect of not having these conversations before and then just blowing up is about the same as walking into a restaurant, sitting at the table, and when the server comes up, you just look at them and like make eye contact. You
expect them to know already what you want.
Right. You would say, Greg, that's ridiculous. That's foolish.
But it's so not if you really think about it.
We operate that way in our relationships all the time.
I'm supposed to be able to walk into the room and you're supposed to be able to read my facial expressions and my body language and know exactly what I'm feeling.
Sometimes I can.
Well,
it's weird.
But
I'm just kidding. I don't. Because if you think you can understand a woman, bro, get you a podcast, write a book. You're about to be filthy rich. So I'm just saying we're all complicated. We're all, but
women are not the only ones that are complicated. Guys try to feel like, oh, we're so simple.
We are.
But you're not.
Oh, we are.
No, you're not. No, you're not. Nope.
Okay.
That's a different podcast. Nope.
Are you kidding me? Okay, let's go through some rules.
Babe. Babe.
Right.
Here, the guardrails that we talked about that we actually do have for our marriage.
Yes.
Look out for the best interest of each other.
Correct. What does that mean though? Like
that's hard though sometimes when I feel like I'm right and you feel like you're right. It's so difficult to make sure it was like, I need to feel like I can understand why you think you're right.
But you know what's weird though sometimes
hard
in
to
an argument, like we get into it and we're like neck deep into this argument. Like it's not, we hadn't just started.
Yeah.
We've been into it. Like we're back and forth.
Mm-hmm.
We're volleying back and forth like this, comments and things. And then it comes down to like, there's a part of this has happened. So umbrella protection.
I'm going with you.
So there's times where I'm just like,
you have a force field.
Crap. I think she's right and I'm wrong. But then I want to argue my point anyway, just so I can feel like And sometimes I just catch myself trying to argue my point, which I don't even believe.
Anymore.
Sometimes I don't even think if I know it's right, but I'm still going to stick to my point. And I don't understand why I do that other than just pride.
Oh, you're so cute.
Well, just being honest. And so, so it's almost like when you're looking out for the best.
Okay, here's a good question. Do you think that you are more quick to be like, okay, you're right, I'm wrong? Or if I'm more quick to be, you're right, you're wrong?
Me.
I'm wrong.
Me.
Do you think that?
Because I analyze faster and quicker,
You
and it
do.
runs through my whole. And you're over there, you're still in emotions. You're about to cry, which is going to mess with my working through emotions. Because when you start crying, all that just goes out the window, and I can't focus.
I only cry when I'm really mad, though.
Yeah, I know. I know that. I'm well aware. I'm well aware, and I don't like it.
Okay, so
I don't say it in an arrogant way. I just think it's a.
no, I don't think that.
It's yeah.
Yeah. We know each other and how each other works really well at this point.
Which also can be a bad thing because when you do that and you're not looking out for the interests of someone else, you know what buttons to push. You know which levers to pull, and you just.
Well, that's a whole different conversation of using that as a weapon.
Well, that's one of the rules.
Oh, gosh. And, okay, another rule that we have set, this is from the get-go, no yelling.
Yes.
We literally have never, ever, ever raised our voices at each other. And we've never raised our voices at our children either.
No, because I think if I'm doing that, I am making decisions out of emotion.
Yes.
And I am not going to be.
It
doesn't feel intelligent to me. It's like if I can just scream the loudest, then I'm going to get the most attention.
Intelligent. That's a good word.
And so I'm like, I don't. We had one time our kids. Right when we did this is in the beginning. I was in the dining room. This is our very first house we had together, all of us together.
I thought you were about to talk about the Disney experience, the Orlando experience.
Oh, you're trying to drag my skeletons out, aren't you? But anyway, it was, we were Jess was in the other room, in the kitchen doing something. I was in the living room at a table, and Thomas was raising his voice, yelling at you.
Well, because I had gotten some emails from a couple of teachers, and got a couple of posts, I guess, from the online report card system. And they were not so great reports. And I was talking to him just like I'm saying right now and showing him it was either on the computer or on my phone. Like, okay, talk to me about this. Talk to me about this. I was just asking some questions, and his defense is where you're talking about.
And so Thomas, when he was younger, his defense mechanism, when he was always wrong and he knew it.
Yeah.
We brought this to attention later. He would raise his voice and get really loud and really angry when he knew he was wrong.
And very, very defensive and just mean.
And so he was screaming and yelling to the top of his lungs.
Really close to my face.
Yeah. So I remember walking in there, and it was instinctive. Like, I didn't even think about it. And I got...
You put yourself in between us.
Yes, and I got right in Thomas's face, and I remember saying...
You backed him up against the counter on the other side of the room.
And he was probably...
14,
maybe
something like that. Taller than me already, bigger than me, which I feel like was part of his, like, trying to be the dominant figure too. But
maybe, but then I was like, if you want to yell at someone, yell at me.
Don't you ever talk to your mom?
Yeah, but it's like, you're not talking to your mom, you're not talking to my wife that way. So
yeah, the
we're
phrase
not doing that anymore.
The phrase that sticks in Thomas's head still to this day is, nobody talks to my wife like that. I don't care if she's your mother or not.
It was just, I don't like yelling because I grew up around a lot of screaming and yelling, and it's one of those things like we can have conversations, intelligent conversations, share our emotions, share our feelings. If we can't, take a walk.
Yeah.
Cool off, come back, and let's share.
And
but
we're not saying
we're
so perfect and we don't fuss or fight or whatever, because in that same house where we first lived and we all got together, there were several times where you would put on your weighted backpack and you would go walk the loop around our neighborhood so that we could have intelligent not quite so emotional conversation.
Maybe some constructive conversation.
Constructive is a way better say, but
Yeah.
but that all goes back to the house you grew up in, some things that you need to take into consideration.
Because when you start yelling, the next thing that happens, when you raise your voice, you start yelling. Next thing that happens, you start name calling.
Yeah, that's
You
a
start
no-go.
trying to call names. So we're not going to do that.
We're not doing that.
You're not going to call the other person
Because when
name,
you
period.
go from the yelling to the name calling, things get physical. And that doesn't always mean putting your hands on one another. That could be throwing things or...
No one should be putting their hands on anyone else in a marriage.
No.
If someone's putting their hands on you and you're out there, get help. Like, don't stay in
Text
that.
us, literally.
Don't stay in that.
We'll figure out how to get you some help.
Yeah, it's a terrible place to be. So don't.
It is.
But like, if you're in an argument, you're yelling, you start calling names, then you naturally are going. If you want to win, you're like, I'm going to win this argument.
Yeah.
Their next step is then you're going to start hurling insults, personal insults at them. You're going to start calling them. And I'm telling you, my dad was the worst at this. Like, there's not a name you could come up with
that he didn't say
that haven't been called by him. And then usually he was drunk or hungover, and then the next day he'd be like, I'm sorry.
That's the thing I was about to say.
Hated that. So I always told my kids when my kids would, and they bought me a T-shirt said, I was like, don't be sorry, be different.
Yeah.
Because I was like, I don't care if you just say I'm sorry.
The front of it said, don't be sorry, and the back said, be different.
Yeah, I was just like, don't tell me you're sorry, just be different.
Because that's the thing that's most fascinating when an adult loses control, and the escalation thing that we were just talking about. It's like, oh, we're going to go to sleep, and then tomorrow we're going to just be like, nothing ever happened. No.
Yeah, sorry, that's not how it works.
That's
like,
not,
you don't get to act like nobody said mean words to someone else. That you call someone else names. If you're angry, I may catch crap for this, but if you're in a fight and you're throwing things and punching walls, that's the behavior of a 5-year-old. Like that is stop and figure out why are you at that point where you need to throw something or punch something?
Why do you feel the need to be so like right, quote unquote,
well, not
in that
but
situation
like,
where you can't listen to the other side and you're going to literally pitch a fit,
right,
so that you can get your point across? That doesn't make any sense at all.
Because if you're doing that, you got some anger, some pent up anger that's down in there. That this is a way for it to come out, and that is not healthy. I'm sorry. It's just there's a lot better ways to do that. Don't be throwing things. And I'm not saying in the fact of you feel like you're something bigger, but like I spent a lot of time in my life, not a lot of time, probably 3 to 4 years of my life, doing karate, did some kickboxing, loved it. I loved fighting. Fighting was fun. Like physical fighting was fun for me. It was too fun for me. That's why I had to get out of it because it wasn't healthy for me. I really enjoyed the fight part.
Yeah.
But I enjoyed the challenge. But the idea is that I don't need to throw anything or hit somebody even when I'm angry. That just doesn't make sense. I was like, if you're threatened, like if someone's threatening you, like that's a different story. That's not it. We're talking about your significant other.
Yes.
Your partner that you're having a conversation with. There should be no reason people are throwing and hitting things.
That's why I want to loop back to like the synonyms. I know as cheesy as you think it is, we've used the word fight a lot, and it doesn't mean physical.
No.
That's a different level, and that's something else that we're not talking about right now, because that's a different level that involves other people other than podcasts. You know, if that's where you're at, you need to seek some help, because there's people that can help you. But I feel like if we go back to the original purpose of what we were talking about, of, you know, if you're disagreeing with one another, the very basic building block of your relationship should be the ability to listen to one another. Learn how to communicate in a way where your partner can listen to you and understand what you're trying to get at.
Correct. Yep.
And a big part of that is don't interrupt each other. And then it might take, I mean, you and I are a good example. It might take me a minute to get where I'm going. And even if you feel like you need to say something or whatever, there's don't interrupt each other, because that makes that other person feel like it's not, her or his feelings are not valued. And then that's where some fusses might come from. So, that's a big thing to keep in mind too.
So as we wrap it up, remember those three things: money, communication, how we spend time together. Those are the three things that most couples are fighting about. Figure out which ones you're good at, which ones you're lacking at. Figure out a plan to how do we communicate? How do we close the gaps on those to be better at those situations? Sharing our expectations for all of those. And let's figure out how to move forward in a good, healthy way. Sit down after you figure that out.
Yeah.
Next step, write down some rules for your fights. What are the rules that we're going to both talk about, agree upon, and then do?
And be patient with one another while you figure that out, because you're all working toward the betterment of your relationship.
Yeah, this is an ongoing conversation. You probably are not going to finish this in one sitting. You
shouldn't, because as you go through seasons, it's going to change.
Yeah. And whatever season you're in, you're going to have, there's fights are different for different seasons around different things. Yeah. So
we know this unpacked portion has been different because we've kind of unpacked as we've gone through.
Correct.
But it's impossible to not do that when you're talking about how to fight fair and how to work towards the same goal.
Yeah. So thank you guys for joining tonight. Keep your guard up. Have fun. I don't know. I was holding my fist up like you guys could see in a podcast.
Yeah, when we paused just then, that's what we did.
Yeah, we're trying to make fight motions.
It's okay.
Hey, thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Be sure to like, subscribe, share.
Thanks for pulling up to the table while we talked about fighting.
Yeah. Go fight fair. See you guys.